Good Tuesday morning, East Tennessee. My name is David Aldridge, Chief Meteorologist of Captain Accurate Weather, coming to you by way of the Captain Accurate Weather Command Center. On behalf of Weigel's Fuel and Food that's fast, fresh, and friendly, here's a Weigel's and weather update. We'll start with Weigel's because I don't know if you know, it's winter. I don't know if you are aware, if you got the memo when you stepped outside yesterday or this morning, that winter is in full force. And the Winter Wonderland milk, which Weigel's has, a frosty, vanilla minty flavored milk, is delicious. It's delicious. And you know what? It goes great with your coffee, too. A Weigel's cup of coffee and Winter Wonderland, it's a dynamic duo. By the way, it's deliciously, or delightfully delicious, I should say. It's around for just a limited time, so pick up a bottle of the Weigel's Winter Wonderland. It is absolutely delicious, and you might want to have a bottle in hand. Maybe you could pick up 2 bottles because it goes by pretty quickly in the Aldridge household. I can tell you that. It's just better when it's fresh. Farm to store in 24. It's just better when it's with Tennessee cows. Oh, by the way, did I mention, besides the Winter Wonderland, what a remarkable day today is? Because you know what? If you take a look, go back into a time machine. For those of you old enough to remember, 1985. Oh, yes. Parachute pants, break days. No, I'm not talking about 85. Yeah, that might have been one. But I'm talking about the cold air we had 40 years ago today. Negative 24. Now, right now, it's like in the middle teens, right? It's tame compared to what it was 40 years ago. I mean, middle teens now with wind chills around 4 is nothing compared to what Pete Michaels had to experience. And I want to give a shout out to my pilot, friend, and of course, confidant here, because he was able to share this picture with me last year when it was at the 39 years ago. So this is the frozen tundra. This is what Knoxville looks like when it's negative 24. And if I could quote Pete Michael's traffic for just a moment. In that tweet, he wrote, "Cold this morning. I took this shot from over a frozen Knoxville on January 21st, 1985. Yes, I did fly, and I had all I could do to keep the plane engine warm by flying full power with full flaps. My speed was much lower than normal." Pete, thank you for doing that. We salute you all these years later. He's been doing this for so long. But this is just one amazing. When you are absolutely 54 degrees below normal, that should catch a headline. And by the way, this is the coldest morning Knoxville has ever had on record, and records go back to 1871, back when Ulysses S. Grant was president. Hey, how about that? I salute Pete for having to weather that particular event. And it wasn't snowing, it was just so cold. Right now it's 12 degrees in Morristown, 10 degrees in Crossville. Our friends in McGee Tyson, they're at 15. And it's 16 degrees in Oak Ridge, 12 in Jacksboro. How cold are you? I'm sure you're pretty cold. 15 is the actual temperature. 10 degrees the actual temperature in Rockwood, but you throw in some wind. We could do that. Let's throw in some wind. What's that look like? 15 goes to 4. 15 feels like 4. Knoxville feels the same. Crossville's 4. Feels like 8 in Jamestown. I know you're cold. If you've got a comment, let me know. Would love to hear from you. Steve Stone says, good morning. He's got his happy face and his sunshine. May not see a whole lot of sunshine today. Steve, there's a southern system that's going to pass us by, and it will be bringing some snow to some unusually warm spots, like the beaches, right? And some areas along the coast. It's crazy weather. I know. Carrie says, good morning. It's a very chilly 12 in Morristown. Bundle up. Have a fantabulous day. Kids may be back to school. Maybe they're on delay. I don't know. You'll have to tell me. But Fred says he's got 14. He's in Maryville, and he's definitely, I love that it's very definitive. He's definitely grabbing some Weigel's coffee this morning. He's got 3 cups there. And maybe consider throwing some of the, grabbing some of the Winter Wonderland and putting a dab of it into your Weigel's coffee. I think you'll be impressed. Anyway, thank you so much, Fred, for the comment. Again, 15 degrees, feels like 4. Let's keep moving because we've got more cold air on the way. This is just kind of like in the middle of the event. Wind speeds are moving at 8. So 15 goes to 4 with an 8-mile-an-hour wind. Some don't have much wind. In fact, there's very little wind right now in the Smokies. But I can tell you the Weather Service has a cold weather advisory in effect tonight. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. It's cold now. It is, but if it doesn't reach the threshold of what they consider to be what used to be the wind chill advisory. They used to have that product. I guess from over time, maybe the social scientists didn't think it had really registered with people. So let's change the name. Let's scratch out wind chill advisory. Let's call it a cold weather advisory. Well, maybe that'll have more effect. Maybe people will stand up and take notice. I'm just surmising here, but I can tell you their expectation is 0 to -10. I suspect 5 above to 5 below if you're in Knoxville, surrounding valley. I will repeat that. In the valley, later tonight, 5 to 5 below. Some of us are at 4 now, so it's not going to be much different, but you are correct. we have cold air now, but the anticipation is tonight might actually be significantly colder in terms of the actual temperature. Winds aren't going to be that strong tonight. I've got generally tonight's winds are going to be about 5 to 10, but they'll slow down about 3 to 8 in the overnight period. Not a lot to see on the radar here. I want to show you the sunrise and sunset picture time here because we're coming up at 7:43. That's when the sun comes up. It goes to bed now at 5:52. If you've got a comment, I would love to say hi to you. I got a note from Wanda Poe. She says she's cold this morning and had a few snowflakes flying around yesterday. I'm kind of curious to know, does anybody remember 1985, January 21st? I'm kind of curious. Did that picture from Pete resonate with you? Do you remember? Oh my goodness, how do you let the dog out when it's negative 24? That's cold stuff. By the way, Felicia Moyer Sexton says it's 15 in South Knoxville, and she's super cold this morning. Bundle up those kiddos in Knox County schools. Yeah, it's probably a good idea. I wouldn't want to be standing out at a bus stop for any length of time. Hopefully kids will get dropped off and they'll stay warm as best they can. That's that stunned emoji, like, I can't believe winter's here. But if you remember, last January, we had some similar numbers. We were actually as low as 0 last January in 2024 for one morning after the big snow. By the way, big bus stop forecast for those who are headed to school. Temperatures, maybe they're on a delay, whether it's 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock, they're still going to be generally in the mid-teens, but should be easing up into the, I'd say, mid to upper 20s. By the end of the day, 2 to 3:30 should be around 26 degrees here in the valley. Here's the future wind chills, right? We're at 4 now. By about 7:45, they think we're going to go up to 9. And if it's all about what you have to do outside, and again, it's all about layers, think layers. By midday, it might feel like it's 25, but it's not going to feel much warmer than that, unfortunately, given the wind chill. And by 5 o'clock, the wind chill could be 0 in Jamestown. Compare that to 19 in Knoxville. That's a big difference. That's almost 20 degrees difference in terms of wind chill from Fentress to Knox County. That's insane, some of you might be thinking. And maybe it does seem a bit extreme, but it will feel like it's 2, probably as early as 10 o'clock tonight. And then by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, I think -5 to 5 above is reasonable. And you have the bookmarks there from Oak Ridge to Gatlinburg. -5 in Oak Ridge, -5 in Gatlinburg, about +1 Knoxville, Morristown. So this is what I expect in terms of wind chill and what I expect you'll find first thing tomorrow morning. It's going to be brutal, but if you're used to it now, and maybe you're from up north, maybe this is something you've factored in all the time. Maybe this is just but if you're from Florida, if you're from a southern state and you've moved here and you have thin skin and this cold air is for the birds, I understand that. Just pace yourself. That's probably some of the best advice. Make sure you check on your pets. Make sure they have enough water. And when they go outside, make sure their paws aren't stepping on some of that crusty ice in the grass. It's tough. And then you've got pipes. Of course, if you're dripping your faucets, it's probably a good idea. By tomorrow afternoon, we'll be probably feeling like it's closer to the upper 20s to near 30. Visibility not an issue, so fog we can probably cross off. But here's a look at the southern system. It's so south, it's going to miss us. Let me say that again. It's so far south, it's going to affect some of the beaches like Myrtle Beach, right? Some of the areas in Georgia, South Carolina are bracing for snow, which is why they have some winter storm warnings we're going to look at here in just a moment. Let me show you my headlines. It is 6:48. My goal is to be done at 7 o'clock at the top of the hour. These are the coldest mornings since we've experienced since January 2024. Notice I didn't say the coldest morning since 1985. That was the worst. That was for the birds. But 24 below was what we had experienced 40 years ago on this date. As we look at today, clouds and some hazy sun. I don't expect any precipitation. If you're in the Smokies, you might get some stray flakes. I think that's generous. But frigid again tonight. It will be frigid tonight, expecting a low of 7. And when I say frigid tonight, that lingers right through about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. You say, that's nuts. I know. Take a look at the high temperatures over this past month thus far. The first 20 days, which include MLK Inauguration Day of yesterday, was only 23. That's a blue square if I ever saw one. And we've had only 2 days above normal for this month. I got to come back on camera. I got some notes because you know I'm a note taker. Oh my, yeah, 24 below, record low for today. You think we'll come close to that, Aldrich? No, not even. No, not even. No. 1985, back when Reagan was in the White House. The record high, by the way, we've hit 72 on this date. Dwight Eisenhower was in the White House, 1959. If you want what's normal 48's normal high, 30 normal low. We had a gust of wind yesterday of 20. We did hit 23 at 5 p.m., but we did hit 12, the low temperature yesterday morning, at 8:11 in the morning. So it can go right into about 8 or 9. You're still just as cold as you might think you would be at 3 a.m. Does that make sense? I hope it does anyway. We got obviously a lot to cover. And I also want to mention the Weigel's Winter Wonderland. If you haven't checked out the Frosty Mint Vanilla, it is so good. It is the Frosty Vanilla Mint Milk that Weigel's has called the Winter Wonderland. It is delicious. It is delightfully delicious, and it's available for just a limited time. If you have enjoyed the many flavored creations that Weigel's has put out, this is one of the top ones for this season. Absolutely. Winter Wonderland, grab a bottle. It's just better when it's fresh, farm to store in 24, and it's just better when it's with Tennessee cows. Very thankful to have Weigel's as a sponsor. Now, as we go back to those temperatures for a moment, yeah, we've had quite a few blue squares. This is certainly not your December that we had, and it's certainly not November, because we had some very warm days in those months. Now, if you look here carefully over the last hour, you can see all the coloring there. That's referring to the cold weather advisory, formerly known as the wind chill advisory. Now we see some flakes, either some flurries aloft or trying to form down toward parts of Georgia, South Carolina. This will be a shocker for those down there, because all of a sudden they've turned pink. Oh, wait a minute. I think New Orleans is pink. Yeah, they're pink. Now you're talking about parishes in winter storm warning land. We got places in Georgia, winter storm warning. Which, I mean, surely they're not going to expect snow in Charleston. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They're going to get some snow, and maybe even in Florida. What? No way. That's not. There must be something wrong with your computer. Nope. I don't think there's anything wrong with my computer. Yeah, you can see here, like maybe Florida. Walton, isn't that Destin? I think that is. That's the Destin area, Walton County, Florida. Winter storm warning. Can you imagine if they get snow? What would they do? I mean, we've heard frozen orange juice before, but snow-covered oranges? I don't know about that. I don't know how well that will fly. I don't know if you have a thought on that, but let me check your comments to see if you do. Brian says, good morning. Brian is also one of my premium members. He's at the beach. He's in Myrtle Beach. He's excited about this. Snow at the beach. Why not? But keep in mind, I think these areas in pink, Brian, could pick up 1 to 3 inches of snow with isolated fours. Isolated fours. Let me say that again. I think there's that possibility of isolated fours, but because you're real close to the water, you're going to have a marine influence. So it might cut down on your totals right on the beach. Go in a few miles, go in 10 or 15 miles away from Myrtle Beach, inland, you might get to 4. Isn't that amazing? 1 to 3, generally 4. But there could be a lot less right on the sandy beaches just because of the marine influence. I hope that makes sense, but they're bracing for that today, tonight, and tomorrow morning. Amazing stuff, because all that snow is working its way there. Meanwhile, the extreme cold continues in blue from Minnesota, Wisconsin. It's just an amazing map. When you look at it, all that color, based on this, it seems like there's a lot going on around the country. Michael Hawk says winter is here, man, and it is in full gear. I would have to agree. I want to make sure that if you have family outside of Tennessee, that they're prepared, especially in the southern states. So I'm going to Jacksonville, Florida. I'll be fine. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. If you're going to Valdosta, Georgia, I don't know about that. You're going to have some issues. Make sure you tune in to the Captain Accurate Weather app. There are updates you can find on your phone. Speaking of updates, the National Weather Service dropped our 5.1 snow total from the 10th of January to 4.9. Now, why would they do that, David? I had to ask because I didn't know. Why would they drop the snow total a week later from 5.1 to 4.9? They just did. They felt like there was some miscommunication. From what I gathered, even still, 4.9 is still the biggest snow we've had since January of last year. We did pick up 0.7 in December 11th, so we have a grand total of 5.6 for the season. But again, this is just showing you 2025 at a glance. We've had over 2 inches of rain and melted snow. 4.76 is normal. Our temperature 15 if you're just joining us, 10 Johnson City. It is actually 6 in Lexington. I mean, way to represent single digits, Kentucky. I mean, you've got them, and even West Virginia at 4. Now, could we be around 7 tomorrow? Yes, we can. Yes, we will. And yes, it's coming. And I told you last week, I said this was the story. It wasn't the snow. Oh, it might be the snow for southern Georgia, because 1 to 3, isolated 4, that's a big deal. But for them, that was just maybe the story. For us, it's just the cold, right? It is the wind chill that's 4, and Lexington's -4. Some of that cold air is still to come. And as we can see around the country, we're not the only ones experiencing the extreme. It's -10 in Caribou, -18 in Minneapolis, and -15 in Bismarck. That's some cold air. You tackle in the wind chills, I think it goes off the chart. I don't see this very often. When I get into white and black, my goodness, what is that estimate? 33 below? Oh, you can have that. You can keep that. -42 below. That's extreme for anyone's standards. I would think anyone in Minnesota is pretty hardy enough to endure this, would have maybe have been there a while. But that's pretty some cold air. I wouldn't want to be around that cold. 37 below. That's for the birds. And when this cold Arctic air comes down, it comes down modified. So we're not that cold, thankfully. But 5 above to -5 tonight is on the table. Just wanted to throw that out there. By the way, it's 6:55. My goal is to be done at the top of the hour. This Arctic blast has to leave some point, right? Yeah, it will. It's going to leave. But it will only pull away once we move into the second half of the week. It will begin to retreat. In fact, in the Valley Planner, let me go back there. Did I skip by that too fast? Wanted to show you how this is likely to progress. Let's go here. This Arctic blast that's affecting Minneapolis, Chicago, comes into town. It's already here, but it will slowly begin to retreat, probably as we head into the second half of Wednesday. The morning is brutal. The afternoon will be making a run toward freezing to 32. Then that Arctic blast heads up toward Boston, heads up toward New York, and that time frame is around 1:15 in the afternoon. So, I mean, all things relative, the worst of it will be improved, or at least the worst of it will be gone by Wednesday afternoon. Valley Planner, clouds and some hazy sun, still cold. We'll be lucky to make it into the mid to upper 20s across the board. That's my expectation. Precipitation chances, 20%. Nope, I got 30. 30% on Sunday, 60% on Monday. That's my expectation. High temperatures today should be around 29 degrees in Knoxville. Storm Prediction Center has nothing to talk about. I mean, we've got a lot going on with the Weather Service, but the Storm Prediction Center, which is trying to focus on severe weather, any thunderstorms or convection would usually catch their eye, but there's no color on these maps, not today, not tomorrow, and I think even on Thursday, things are quiet. So there's no severe weather as a result of this cold Arctic blast. It is pretty much the only game in town is the cold air, seems like, across much of the lower 48. Let's go ahead and talk about the forecast. Starting off with the futurecast, high pressure is over parts of Virginia. We've got a dry situation today, but you can clearly see there's snow developing in Atlanta, over toward Augusta, and over toward, say, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. Those are the areas by 5 o'clock. They're where it's headed. And you can see a little bit of pink there in Myrtle Beach. And the green, it might be more of a rain event for a while. There'll be more mixing. But if you are in Myrtle Beach, Brian, and you're headed about 10 miles inland, you may find anywhere from 1 to 4 inches of snow. It's just probably the way it's going to go. 10 o'clock tonight, we have clearing skies. And that's going to open the door for another Arctic blast to kind of settle in before we make a run toward 32 Wednesday afternoon. A little front is trying to approach here on Thursday, but I think generally Thursday's mostly sunny with very little moisture associated with that. Maybe a flurry in the higher terrain even on Friday. But by the way, we take a look and get to the forecast. Today's forecast, high temperature of 29. It's going to be very cold. Clouds, hazy sun. Winds are going to be about 0 to 5 miles per hour, so it's not too windy. And if we get some hazy sun, it'll be more likely the second half of the day as that southern slider moves away. Here are the high temperatures for today. 28 for Newport, 29 for Kingston, 23 in Crossville, looking for a high of 22 in Oneida. Again, normal high is 48. Normal low is 30. We won't even make it to the normal low. That just shows you how cold this day is going to be. It's going to be pretty brutal. 25 I'm expected in Campbell County, about 26 for Maynardville and Sharps Chapel. If you've got a comment, would love to say hi to you. Wanda's on here. She says, I remember when snowflakes fell. In Fort Lauderdale, they closed schools because it was cold. I would imagine so. That would probably send a lot of folks into a panic, no doubt. Brian is noting, he says, David, you see Louisiana has blizzard warnings. You know, for them, if it's snowing hard, it's a whiteout. You know, it's like blizzard. It's kind of interesting to see how how people are going to react, especially when they think they moved far enough south. I thought I moved away from this. Nope. Mother Nature does what Mother Nature does. You know what I'm saying? It's just what happens. It's the luck of the draw. In your case down there, they're going to deal with more snow. If you're traveling today, yes, you're driving into the snow if you head toward Atlanta. That seems weird. I thought I'd be headed to the snow if I went to Lexington. No, if you're going to Atlanta today, you're going into the snow. It's kind of weird, but that's the way it goes. It's a southern slider. 34 in Greenville, 36 in Columbia. I'm not laughing. I just know, I mean, I kind of am laughing, but it's the irony that catches me off guard here. Frigid and clearing skies tonight. I know this next map will catch your attention. 5 to 10. The winds tonight, they will be changing direction from the northwest, changing to the northeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here are my expectations tonight. Oh my, we're 15 now. Yeah, we'll cut it in half roughly. 7 or 8, possible in Knoxville. 5 for Morristown. A lonely 1 for Crossville, Jamestown, and Oneida. So tonight, no doubt, with wind chills 5 above to -5. Again, 5 above to -5. That's what I expect tonight. The Weather Service has kept a general 0 to -10, but I think most of us will be in the heart of the valley in that 5 above to 5 below range. That's my expectation. Here's your Captain Accurate Weather Authority forecast for Knoxville, East Tennessee at 7:01. Wanted to finish up here is at the top of the hour. I put the surprised or stunned emoji again on the map simply because we've got temperatures in the single digits, not something we experience very often, but it will get warmer in the mornings by this weekend as we go back into the low 40s most likely on Thursday, but a better chance of reaching that next week, this weekend, with more rain showers in view by early next week. Monday looks like our best chance of precipitation. Well, anyway, very thankful for you. If you haven't picked up a bottle of the Winter Wonderland, I hope you'll do so. You can also grab some coffee, some regular milk, chocolate milk, or even a cold drink if you so are inclined. But I will say the Winter Wonderland milk is delicious. It's delightfully delicious, and it's around for only a limited time. Very thankful for Weigels and very thankful for you. Well, my name is David Aldridge. Some people call me Captain Accurate. It's not easy being accurate, so weather doesn't surprise you. Please stay warm. We'll see you here next time. Take care.